400 couples have tied the knot in a mass wedding hosted by the International Pentecostal Holiness Church. Some will enter into polygamous marriages at an event which was previously held exclusively at the church's headquarters in the west of Johannesburg. Newzroom Afrika's Zanele Ngumbela reports. Okay, we seem to be having a bit of an issue with that. I don't know when we will be able to sort it out and bring you Zanele's report on those marriages today, those weddings, mass wedding. It was, in fact, at the church headquarters, as I was saying, in the west of Johannesburg. Anyway, April marks Sexual Assault Awareness Month. The campaign aims to empower survivors and increase awareness around the violence. For more on this, we're joined by Soul City Institute CEO Phinah. Kodisang. Phinah, very good evening to you. I'm grateful for your time. There is something quite tragic about the fact that we're having this awareness month at a time when a convicted rapist and killer had been on the run undetected for almost a year.
And it always happens, good evening to you and to everyone watching this. You know, it always happens whenever there's an event or there's a period set aside to either commemorate or to look at issues faced by women. We see such things happening. You will know that when we celebrate 16 days of activism, there's a lot of death, women, femicide, in fact, that happens during that time. When it's Women's Month, we see a lot of abuse, we see a lot of gender-based violence happening. So every time there's something set aside to look at issues, to commemorate, or to even create awareness around issues faced by women, we find the system fighting back. And it fights back in a horrible way because, if a convicted rapist is on the loose, you can imagine what that means to the victims, what that means to the justice system, and what that means to the fight against gender-based violence. And that Sexual Assault Month, we are commemorating the 22nd anniversary. That tells you a story of a failed system, because how can we, for the 22nd year, still be dealing with the same issues?
And the convicted rapist, for those who are wondering, who we're referencing now, is Thabo Bester, sentenced for crimes that happened over 10 years ago. And, when you consider what this case will do to women who already are so fearful of whether reporting an attack would work, and it's not just women who are sexually abused in this country, but they are the majority. When you look at what's happened here and just the lapse in the response of the authorities, how much could that deter other people from coming forward and reporting how they've been violated?
There's already a distrust of the system. We see, even, as I was preparing to speak to you tonight, I reflected back on the numbers that we get every quarter from the Ministry of Police. And you would remember that, there was a year, before 2022, there was a report that the numbers had gone down. And when we looked at it, we saw that it's not necessarily that violation or violence against women has got down, but it's because women are not trusting the system. They don't go out and report, So when we look at those numbers, each time we need to look at them with an understanding of the context of South Africa. So last year, the report that we got, in February this year, which was covering last year, October to December, showed an increase. And when we also looked at what was happening, we saw that as much as violation was happening, more women, because of awareness created, were reporting. So we need to balance things, Tembekile. We need to look at how does the whole system work to encourage women, because gender-based violence is something we can prevent. Sexual offense is something we can prevent. But what are the intentions and what are the investments that we make in prevention? So everyone, when we look at cases like Thabo Bester, they really make us think that we have faith. Because how can we struggle to convict? And in fact, there's a report that was issued by the MRC that shows that conviction is less than 10% in our country, where 30% of cases that are reported, only 30% make it to court, and only less than 10% then get convicted. So when we struggle to convict all cases, and the ones that we convict end up in the way that Thabo Bester case has ended up, then that shows you that we cannot trust the system, and therefore women are now on their own. They are not safe in their homes. They are not safe even when perpetrators are arrested, because corruption and other collusions happen to free those that are supposed to remain behind bars. So it's a struggle. It's a serious struggle, and it's a painful struggle for women in our country.
And you referenced the final quarter of 2022 and the crime stats from that period. 5,939 rapes, the Ministry of Police said, had taken place at the home of the perpetrator or the victim, including places known to them, meaning these were attacks involving family, friends, or even neighbors and colleagues, right? Yeah. That is a trend that has not changed over the years. How do we stop that, where majority of sexual assault victims in this country are in fact attacked by people they know, and in many of the cases, people they trusted?
So we need to build social cohesion in our communities, where it's a community affair. You know, we all take charge, we all take responsibility for preventing. I said earlier, it is preventable. But if we are all going to turn a blind eye and say it's a marital issue, it's a private issue, we're not going to get involved, then we are not going to solve this problem. We need to all really put our hands on deck with this issue. It must be an issue that we all take seriously. Don't wait until you are a victim, or your child is a victim, or your wife is a victim, for you to stand up. It requires that all of us really stand up and fight this out. Make sure that we prevent, we are aware of the issues, we know how to report, but also we rally together to make sure that we build a protective system within our community. Because, you know, at the intersections of violence is the issue of race, is the issue of class, is the issue of heterosexism, is the issue of sexism. It's many patriarchal issues that embed and entrench this behavior.
Right.
So if we are intentional, we really need to fight all these oppressive systems and make sure that everybody gets involved.
This is an awareness month, Phinah, and I want to ask you about the other forms of sexual assault, because when many people talk about sexual violence, we often limit, and rightfully, because it's such a serious issue, but we limit it to rape. But sexual assault comes in many forms, and I wonder how well South Africa has done in raising awareness about the other issues, and if they've, to a large extent, gone unpunished, where perpetrators have got away with it.
Yeah, I think, you know, the mistake we make is to think that we should see, you know, a scar, or we should see physical evidence of abuse, and not all cases actually have physical evidence that you will see on the woman's face or the woman's body. You know, it's issues of sexual oppression, issues of financial oppression that we talk about, abuse generally, psychological, emotional, all these forms of violation that sometimes even result in coercive penetration is what we need to create awareness on. And for women who find themselves victim of this, they should not keep quiet. It doesn't help the situation. We need to find ways of reporting. We need to make sure that we strengthen awareness. We learn about consent. As an individual, you need to understand what consent means. If I say no, no is no. You know, every step of whatever that we do, if I can withdraw my consent. So if we start with kissing and I say no to the next one, you must stop. It can't be that, but you led me on, and, you know, you made me believe that we can go all the way. Consent can be withdrawn anytime. And so as an individual, you cannot plead ignorance. All of us need to learn. And this month is about also teaching that, you know, to say, what is consent? Why should you consent? When your consent is withdrawn, be firm about it. Don't even be intimidated by someone.
Thank you so much, Phinah, for speaking to us, Soul City Institute CEO.